welcome to another episode of Not Quite Ringside Podcast. I am your host, the Captain, Corey Smelter, and with me, as always, is Will Twinkie Welch.
What's going on, people?
Now, with this episode, we are having to record a little earlier than we normally do, so we couldn't find a nice, quiet room to do. So we're recording in my car right now, and it's raining and all that. So if you guys hear some pitter-patter on our windshield, that's what you're hearing, but it's nothing too bad. We'll try to cut it if it starts getting too bad and if it starts thundering pretty bad. But with that being said and everything, we're going to just go ahead and move on to everyone's favorite segment, Wrestling News.
Yeah, this week there's not a lot of news. It's kind of a quiet week. The news we have is fairly significant, though. So the first one is Rosie died. And while that doesn't seem important to a lot of people, Rosie is part of the Anoy family, and I'm probably butchering the saying of that. But that is the same family as Roman Reigns and that whole group of Samoans. So thoughts and prayers go out to that family for sure. I hate to see Rosie leave. Former member of 3 Minute Warning, if you remember that.
And not only 3 Minute Warning, but of a superhero in training with Hurricane.
I thought that was him, and I was like, oh boy.
I could have used the acronym for it, but again, it's a PG show, so.
The other one, Foley has successful hip surgery. I wondered why he was out, and now we know.
Oh, why he left or got fired from the general manager position. Well, a hip surgery will do that.
Yeah, he definitely he was walking like an old man, like older than 90-year-old man, and he's probably not even 50 yet. The last one, Wilder broke his jaw. I really hope this doesn't hurt the momentum of calling up the Revival.
I don't think it's going to hurt them too badly. I mean, it is for 2 months that he's out. He's out for 8 weeks. And what I think they might do, besides having Wilder come out and wrestle or do anything, have him stay backstage, have him not be on any of the tapings or any of the shows, and just have Dawson come out and do single matches, just so people can keep the Revival on their tongues to know who they still are.
I'm going to be honest with you, this is why I don't like the New Day going to SmackDown. Something like this happens, yeah, it's a freak accident, but something like this happens, and now you've got nothing for the Revival to do, whereas you could have, is it Dawson?
Yep, Dawson.
You could have had Dawson taking on members of the New Day. You could have had him taking on, Big E or Xavier Woods, and instead what you're going to get is nothing from the Revival, probably.
What then becomes of the Hardys after the Sheamus and Cesaro match versus the Hardys at Payback? If the Hardys defend and they retain the title, who are the Hardys then going to go up against? Enzo and Cass, maybe, if the Revival is out.
Or do we see them go up against the Club?
Well, you can see the Club, too. I would like to see the Club versus the Revival. I think that would have been a good matchup.
And it's two heels going against each other.
You could still have two heels in the same match going at each other. You just have to root for one of the two evils. And so in this case, you'll probably cheer for the Revival.
Or just get the Revival over his faces, one of the two.
Yeah. I like the Revival as heels. I love to hate them, but they're really good wrestlers.
Yes. So, on to ROH, because that ends the news.
Yep.
Like I said, short news segment this week.
Yep. So, we go to ROH, and ROH, I didn't watch it all in its entirety. I fast-forwarded through most of it, just because I wasn't feeling today. I started a new job, I was tired, and so I didn't watch the whole thing. But I did take notes on what I did watch. And I have match number 1, which is Caprice versus Chris Sabin. Caprice refuses to do the code of honor, which is to shake each other's hands. So you have already established who is the heel in the match.
Yeah, he's part of I can't even remember who he's part of now. He's part of a faction, the Rebellion.
Oh, yeah.
Part of the rebellion.
That's what it is.
And Sabin is part of the guy of the older guard that, kind of wants to keep around the thought of ROH, the thought of the code of honor and the code of ethics that they follow, the handshakes before the match, and the rebellion is just like, no, we don't want to do that anymore. We are here to rebel.
Yeah, and the reason why I forgot who Caprice was from is because I was looking at my notes and I have KK. I'm thinking, who is KK?
Kenny King.
I know, it dawned on me after you said the rebellion. I was like, oh yeah. And so
there were some pretty cool spots in this match, though.
Yeah, there was.
I had never seen.
You had Kenny King with a distraction on the apron. Caprice then does a thump to the eye.
Another good part of that match before was when Caprice backs Sabin into the corner and starts messing up his hair.
Oh yeah,
that was kind of funny.
And so after that first distraction, Lio Rush then comes down to the ring to pretty much even the odds against the Rebellion and Chris Sabin. And I like Lio Rush. He's a good wrestler. He's quick in the ring. I really like his ring work.
Man, put him in 205 Live and imagine what we could see in some of those matches.
And it depends if he wants to come to WWE.
I wouldn't if I were him, because he's at least going to probably be a main eventer there.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
I mean, he was in the main event on the show, actually.
Now, I put it in here as a personal note to myself, but I'm going to share it. It says, Sabin is obviously the better wrestler in the ring. He's having to slow down his wrestling moves to help Caprice.
But Caprice did a really cool move I have never seen. A flipping Northern Lights repeated.
Oh, yeah.
When he did that, that was really cool. I've never seen that before, and I've been watching wrestling for, 20-something years now. And I've never seen that, so I thought it was pretty awesome.
Yeah, I after I reading my notes, and I meant to put that in my notes too, but I didn't. And we move on through the match, and Caprice does this weird looking bulldog cutter thing that I thought was kind of interesting to see, because it was like, I don't know about that.
Yeah, the missile drop kick by Sabin. Caprice just kept backing up. Why was he backing up? It made it look so sloppy.
I don't know. Sabin then he has Caprice on the mat. Sabin then does a flip over the ropes to take down Kenny King. Kenny King is now obsolete in this matchup. And
for a minute.
No, yeah, for a minute.
Because when they do the sunset flip, he's trying to hold on to his hands.
So you have Kenny King, he tries to hold on to Caprice. Rush kicks away Kenny King's hands. Sabin rolls up Caprice for the win. So, Sabin won that match.
And something you don't see enough in WWE, in my opinion, is a roll-up win. The sunset flip or the old school pin, you just don't see it very much anymore. And I'm not saying do it all the time, but, on a live show, to have a match that is essentially meaningless in that way, it'd be kind of cool every now and again.
Yeah. I mean, I remember you mentioned this on past episodes, saying that you like the roll-up wins and all this, and you just now mentioned that doesn't happen often, and it's like, it's been happening a lot more often now on all stages of ROH. I've seen it on TNA a couple of times. You have it on Raw and Smackdown, NXT, 205.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is you used to get at least 2 to 3 matches a week that ended like this. And now you may get, 1 or 2.
One or two maybe. That doesn't really matter, or
right.
that it just builds a story saying, oh, I just got this cheap win on you.
Yeah.
That's what a roll-up pin is now in this era of wrestling. It's like, oh, I rolled you up. That's a cheap win. I got one over on you.
Yeah, and it used to be, you didn't see the finishing moves every week.
No.
Like, when's the last time you didn't see a match with 2 bigger name superstars end with a finishing move?
Like Cena hitting like 5 AAs in one match. Maybe you should get a new finishing move if it's not finishing them no more.
Yeah.
Or hey, here's an idea. Rename it again. Why not?
Yeah.
If you guys don't know that when Cena was Rapper Cena, which is probably his best character that he ever had in his career, his finishing move was called the FU.
Same thing as it is now.
It's exactly the same thing as the AA. And his STF what he does as his submission used to be STFU. And if you're ordering or listening to this podcast, just ask your children, your grandchildren, what do these acronyms mean? And they will probably give you a more censored version of what it is, but you can put the pieces together.
Yep.
So we move into match number 2, which is Cheeseburger and Will Ferraro versus Roppongi Vice.
Yeah, and that's about the extent of that match.
Well, yeah, I said
Roppongi Vice won. It was a stupid match, and Cheeseburger eat a cheeseburger.
Yep, I said that. I said Cheeseburger at the beginning of the match. He looks like he's about to cry. Like he's in the ring, and he looks like he's about to cry. Nothing's happened to him. He just looks like he's about to cry.
Yep.
And then after the match was done, Farrah and Cheeseburger got into it a little bit. Ferraro walked off. That was the extent. I said I was impressed with Ferrara and Roppongi Vice, and not Cheeseburger. Cheeseburger never impresses me whenever I see him. So
Cheeseburger, eat a cheeseburger, man. You look kind of small.
So Twink is probably going to handle the main event more, because all I have is who won the match. I didn't watch it, and so I just fast forwarded it all. So, but the main event was Jay Lethal, Silas Young, Hangman Page, and someone.
Jay White.
Yeah, Jay White versus
Leo Rush, Hanson, Bobby Fish, and Colt Cabana. Rush and White started, and that was an impressive series of counters. They are part of, and I can't remember the name, but it was Sabin and Shelley. They are part of that same group that are all about, keeping the code of honor and the different things about the old school ROH. All right, so you get Leo Rush and Jay White starting, and even though they're in the same faction with Shelley and Sabin, they start against each other here. It was an impressive series of counters. I mean, Leo Rush goes for a kick, Jay White moves out of the way, and it is just one counter after another, after another, after another, and it was just so impressive to watch. White then was tagged in by Silas Young, and Hanson tagged himself in, and when Hanson tagged himself in, I thought Leo Rush was going to get in a fight with him. When Hanson tagged himself in and Silas Young was standing there, he kind of stopped for a minute, and Jay Lethal started harassing him. I was harassing Silas Young, and Silas Young then turned an open hand slapped Jay Lethal to tag him in, and their whole team started brawling against each other. It was kind of funny to watch, because here they are supposed to be in a tag team together, or four-man tag, however you want to look at it, and they just started beating each other senseless. Hangman Page was very aggressive in the match, and I liked it. I like him being aggressive. He's supposed to be the kind of the muscle of the Bullet Club, so to speak. And yeah, that was fun to watch. Page and Young, after the brawl, started working like a team. They cut off the ring. They were beating. I think it was Rush pretty bad. He tags in Hanson, and Hanson does a body slam with Leo Rush slammed on, I believe, Silas Young, and then the crowd started chanting, and Rush did a body slammed Hanson onto Young, which, if you know anything about Rush, he's kind of a small guy, and so for him to body slam Hanson, that's pretty big sized guy getting slammed by a little guy. Hanson did a cartwheel in the match to get up to counter a move, but that team ended up losing. Jay Lethal pinned Leo Rush for the win. Now, the stipulation in that match is the winning team went on to a four-way match
for the number one contender.
For the number one, ROH. Right? So your match for that is going to be Jay Lethal, Jay White, Silas Young,
Hangman Page,
and Hangman Page all against each other. she's going to be interesting. I could see either Hangman Page or Jay White being the number one contender coming out of that match. The only reason I say Hangman Page is because the Bullet Club tie-in with the Fallen Angel, Christopher Daniels.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too, with who was going to win the four-way match for the number one contendership, and I was thinking the same thing, that Hangman Page would then go to win the number one contendership because of the Bullet Club affiliation, just because of that rivalry between Christopher Daniels and the Bullet Club.
Well, I could see that, but I could also see them going into a Frankie Kazarian match with Hangman Page, since that's who he's kind of after, not necessarily Chris Sabin. And it being Jay White, because Jay White, I look at that group and I say, Jay White doesn't really have anything coming up. So why not go ahead and put Jay White in it?
Sure, and we said on last week's podcast that we were highly impressed with Jay White.
He is so fluent in the ring, so fluent. So I gave the show a B rating. I really enjoyed the final match. I'm not gonna lie, I enjoyed the opening match too. The one in the middle, again, kind of meh, but that's why it got a B and not a B+.
I didn't give it a grade because, again, I didn't watch it, so I'm not gonna be. I want to have a fair assessment of the show. But after Ring of Honor was done, we are now going to be moving to 205 Live.
It was a good show this week.
It was a good show. It was the best WWE show of the week, again, like it was last week.
Best show of the week.
Best show of the week, yes, this is true. But in WWE, best show for WWE, again, 2 weeks in a row. 3 weeks in a row, really, if you go back that far, if you want to. And so, 205 puts on great shows. So we go to 205 and we open up with match number 1, which is Akira Tozawa versus Tony Nese.
I like Tony Nese in the ring. He's pretty good.
I like Tony Nese too. I've never had a problem with Tony Nese. I don't mind his character. I don't mind how he does what he does in the ring. He plays his character well. And so, but before the match starts, you have the match starts, and the Tozawa and Nese are, doing their thing. They're putting on a good show, and later on in the match, about midway through the match, you have the Brian Kendrick comes down to ringside, pretty much just to cheer on Nese and to try to play mind games with Tozawa. And so, Tozawa then does a flying headbutt to Nese. Brian Kendrick standing right next to him, but he doesn't try to do anything. So after Nese gets back in the ring, Tozawa's trying to get in. Kendrick then gets on the apron. He tries to kick Tozawa. Ref catches him, and Tony Nese is getting onto Kendrick also. I was like, what are you doing? This is my match. I don't need you. And he's like, well, I wasn't doing nothing. And so Tozawa then rolls him up, I believe. Yeah, rolls him up, pins Nese. 1, 2, 3. Tozawa wins.
It was a really good match. It was very solid. The wrestling was good. I enjoyed watching it. I didn't have my notes with me. I was watching it this morning on my breaks at work and during my lunch, so I didn't have my notes with me. So, but it was a good overall. It was a really fun to watch match.
And then the comedy comes back into it. Kendrick gets in the ring. He tries to explain to Nese what was going on, saying that he was sorry that he cost him the match, and then
that they both should attack Tozawa.
Yeah, that they should both attack Tozawa. Tozawa gets out of the ring, and Nese then hits Kendrick in the back. And what's funny is that Tozawa starts laughing about it. He grabs a microphone and he teaches Kendrick lesson number 3: you need eyes and back of head.
Yeah, that was really funny. I love that he's teaching the same lessons back to the Brian Kendrick. Yep. I really am enjoying these.
And I think how this rivalry is going to happen, I think they're going to have Tozawa going all the way up to lesson number 10 like Kendrick did to him, and they're going to finish it off at a later Raw pay-per-view.
Yeah, I could see that. Or if they decide to do a cruiserweight 2-hour pay-per-view or something, I could see them doing that too.
That'd be crazy if they try to do a cruiserweight pay-per-view.
Give 45 minutes to the championship match.
Whew.
Neville and Aries.
Whew.
They could do it.
They could do it, but whew.
Yeah.
So then we move on to Rich Swann comes out and he's talking. Starts talking about Alicia Fox and Noam Dar. Noam Dar, before Swann gets too far into his conversation or into his promo, Dar comes out and he looks rather salty. He's an angry Scotsman, and he's saying, "How dare you give these gifts to my Alicia Fox?" Alicia then comes out and she pretty much breaks up with Dar, which is like, okay, and she wants to then get with, I mean, as Alicia's breaking up with Dar, I'm sure most of us has been through this, that a breakup does never feel real nice. And so as this is going on, you start feeling for Dar. You get that sympathy for Dar. It's like, oh, poor Dar.
Yeah.
Let me pat you on the head.
Even though I didn't before then, because of how he stole Alicia Fox.
Yeah. And so Alicia then wants to get with Swann because Swann was giving her, the chocolates, the flowers, the lingerie.
That was so funny when he said that too, because he was like, the lingerie, and she was like, ooh, hi.
Yeah. Ooh. And so, but good on Swann. He is honoring the bro code. For if you go back a few months now, you have Alicia Fox dumping Cedric Alexander for Noam Dar. But I said, all in all, it was such a weird segment.
I just wish they'd get Alicia Fox out of these matches. I'm not a fan of hers. I don't know why. I just am not.
Yeah.
I also like when he said, I've revealed to the whole world what you are.
Oh,
and
yeah.
while my mama raised me better not to say it, the whole crowd started chanting, and I was like, oh, that's great.
And I was like, ooh.
I love how the commentators can play something up, too, because I think Corey Graves said it best. Corey Graves said, yeah, his mama taught him not to say words like that, but didn't teach him not to break up a relationship.
Be a home wrecker.
Yeah.
So, after this weird segment's over, we move into match number 2, which is Mustafa Ali versus,
Daivari.
Yeah, Daivari. I forgot what his, Arya Daivari. And, I actually enjoyed the match for the most part. We'll get into that later in this match, but, it was
fast-paced. It was
yep.
it was great wrestling.
Yep, and I am always very impressed with Mustafa Ali. No matter what he's doing in the ring, he could be mat wrestling, he could be flying, he could be doing snatch wrestling. Whatever he does in the ring, it's really smooth and it's pretty much almost flawless.
It is, and it's so fluid. It flows very well. He can go from move to move, and it's not like herky and jerky. It's very, very smooth. Mm-hmm. Even his reversals are smooth, and they're not supposed to. They can be, but usually are not as smooth as he makes them.
And another good spot that I saw in the match was when Daivari reverses a crossbody from Mustafa Ali from the second rope, and he turns it into a very nice looking spine buster.
Oh, that was awesome. I'm always a big fan of the spine buster in all shapes and forms, and especially the AA, and he made it look like a AA spine buster.
Oh, yeah. And so, after the spine buster, you have Ali get back advantage in the match, and he does, again, a very impressive rolling neck breaker. And
that rolling neck breaker is just something to behold. If you don't watch wrestling, it's just so athletic to watch it. I think even you'll be impressed if you don't watch wrestling.
But with the rolling neck breaker, you need help from your opponent, and so that's why I think 205 is such a great show, is because you have both members give and taking in the ring to make these spots look so good.
I agree, and you're right. That is part of what makes 205.
Now, yes. Now, this is where my somewhat of a good match comes in. Drew Gulak comes out He's in his suit and tie, and he's holding a sign that says "No Fly Zone." He sets off the siren on his blowhorn, and he starts chanting something. I forgot what he was trying to chant, but I wasn't too worried about that. I was just angry that he's coming out here ruining such a great match, but in all, he distracts Mustafa Ali, and then
Risey is about to hit his inverted 450, which is an amazing move to watch.
And then, but off the distraction from the wet blanket that is Drew Gulak, Daivari hits his finisher and he wins the match. I'm not happy about this at all because I know you're trying to build a rivalry between Gulak and Ali, but it's like you take what you're trying to build with Mustafa Ali and you pretty much flush all that down the toilet just so he loses this match, just so you can then start a rivalry with Gulak, who we all know ultimately in the end Ali's going to come on top of this rivalry.
Yeah, I just don't understand. If you're going to build Mustafa Ali, build him. Have him win more matches. Don't stick him in some stupid no-fly zone thing.
Well, speaking of no-fly zones, I think Drew Gulak needs the United Airlines treatment.
Yes, let's have Mustafa give him the United Airlines treatment.
So, after this match, we move into the main event, which is TJ Perkins versus Austin Aries. This is a rematch from last week, and what impresses me with this match, all the way to the end, there was no distractions whatsoever. No one came out to interfere in the match. It was a really good matchup. But, going back to the beginning, TJP comes out and he is doing his same entrance that he's been doing, but I don't get it because he is turning heel, but he's still coming out with his gaming music. He still dabs, which he's turning the dab into a more of a cocky gesture more than anything now, which is okay. You can do that if you're turning heel.
I have it in the Raw notes because he's in the Raw match. Is change your entrance, change your music, just stop. You're not pandering to the crowd anymore. Just stop.
And they didn't do this thing with you mentioned on the last podcast that you don't want to see Austin Aries versus Neville for the next 6 months going back and forth. But I put that even if Austin Aries wins at Payback, you still have Neville versus Austin Aries for the rematch. And if Neville wins that, then you have another rematch. So I'm hoping, this is what I'm hoping. I'm hoping that Neville retains the title against A-Double, or A-Double wins. Neville then does his rematch clause on the next 205 Live.
Or
Raw, and just have A-Double win that and end the rivalry altogether.
I agree with that because I love the match between A-Double and TJP.
I do too.
I think you could completely move that, although I feel like they're moving in a direction, and let's get into the match and then I'll tell you the direction I think they're moving into.
Okay, and so, so TJP isn't like doing a lot of wrestling in the ring or anything. He's hiding from A-Double pretty much, and it was pretty much if TJP isn't going to wrestle in the ring, then A-Double is going to bring the match to TJP.
I loved when he went outside once, and A-Double was like, fine, if you're going to do that, I'm just going to go over here and sit in the corner and chill for a minute.
Yep. The first time he did that, he just sat in the middle of the ring, Indian style. And then the second time, he just went up and chilled on the turnbuckle like he does Austin Aries' cocky way. And so,
I love Austin Aries.
TJP does a nice move to where he can put Austin Aries into a pinning predicament, but he does a dab pin. Talk about a humiliation to Austin Aries.
Yeah, I rolled my eyes. Then I rolled my eyes at the pin. I wanted to take my phone and throw it up against the window just to see if I could throw it out the window.
And so, Austin Aries gets up and he's caught with... No, Austin Aries is on the ground, A-Double then moves at his pace but puts Austin Aries into the butterfly lock. I said on last podcast you don't see that move that often, and yet here's TJP then putting Austin Aries in another butterfly lock, which is nice to see.
It is nice to see, and the psychology comes into play in the match with A-Double did something and jarred his knee, and then he got put in a knee bar. Mm-hmm. I mean, the psychology in 205 Live is there, and it's actually really good.
205, when it first originated, you wouldn't think that it was going to do all that well at the start. I mean, you knew it was going to be high flying, you knew it was going to be, good matches all in all, but what you didn't know is that it was going to start rivaling NXT. And which I think it is, because 205, because they learned all of those wrestlers on 205 have came from the indies. All of them. There's no pure WWE superstar in 205.
The closest thing you have is Neville, and he spent all his time overseas learning.
Mm-hmm. And with that, it's you see them build this psychology, how to build a match, and because they were cruiserweights, they know how to have that give and take in the ring, which then builds the psychology.
Well, not to mention with A-Double being in the ring, A-Double was and I hate to say it because it kind of tarnishes A-Double, he was an Impact World Champion.
He was.
I mean, not just X Division, which is what he's basically wrestling in at 205. He was a world champion. He was the Impact World Champion, created Option C, which I still wish they'd come up with somehow on Raw to create an Option C with A-Double. But for those of you who don't know what Option C is, the Cruiserweight / X Division champion basically goes and challenges the world champion and gives up his title. But I wish they'd figure out some way to do Option C with A-Double in WWE. You couldn't call it Option C, but it would just be really cool to see.
Well, your Option C is kind of like your Money in the Bank. Kind of, if you look at it that way.
But it gives a chance for the smaller guys to show what they can do against the bigger guys. And that's why I want to see Option C. And
so, I noted that TJP has this nasty, nasty handprint on his chest where A-Double chopped him. And when I say it's nasty, I mean it is red, it looks like it's welting. I wouldn't be surprised if it was a little blotchy from about to bleed.
Yeah. You see that twice this week, actually. That was the second time this week, and we'll cover the first one when we get to Raw. But, yeah, that was nasty. He smacked him so hard that I think he woke up next week.
And so,
if not, he took a few years off his life because of the heartbeat he made him do.
He skipped a beat.
That's right.
And so you move, and then A-Double does what I think is the most effective move that you can do in the ring is the neck breaker from the second rope, where you hit the neck breaker, you bring your opponent through the second rope. You do the neck breaker. He bounces off the middle rope, bounces up into the top rope, and his face smashes right into the rope. Which then, like I said on last podcast, is that it's hurting your back, it's hurting your neck, it's hurting your face.
Yep.
And I like that move a lot. A-Double does a 450 splash, and TJP kicks out, but he turns it into a last chancery. And everyone's thinking, oh, this is TJP's going to tap, he's going to tap. TJP then crawls to the bottom rope, and he gets a rope break. Then TJP gets up, he goes for a detonation kick. It's reversed with an air clap. Then you do...
I love that ear clap so much, though. I wish more wrestlers would use it. Somebody like a Braun Strowman or something.
You don't want to do it with Braun Strowman, who could cut someone.
I just wish somebody else besides A-Double would do it, because I think it'd be funny to watch it on the bigger shows.
I mean, if Braun Strowman did it, it'd be like what the Hulk does when he claps his hand, and a full sonic boom would come out and knock over the half of the ring and half the arena. But
ruptured eardrums galore.
But A-Double does a discus 5 arm, A-Double wins. Neville then comes out, runs to the ring, because, normally when A-Double comes out, when Neville comes out, you don't see him run to the ring. He just stands at the top of the stage, and he is standing there looking intimidating, looking like a little hobbit dwarf that he is. But this time he actually came down, and he wanted to fight A-Double. So Neville comes down, and he just stomps the crap out of A-Double in the turnbuckle.
He does, but that was after A-Double was getting the better of him until TJP came back.
Came out, yeah.
So TJP and Neville. Here's the way I see this going, and why I wanted to cover it here. Austin Aries was tearing into Neville, and then TJP comes in and just jumps him and basically turns the tide. The reason I want to get into that is because I think they're going the way I said they should go, which is Neville and TJ Perkins are going to form this little team where it's the king with the quote-unquote prince. So TJP is eventually going to become too cocky for his own good and turn on Neville. Eventually. It's not going to happen anytime soon, but that's why I think you're going to be right in the ultimate run of Neville is going to keep the title here and just keep running through people. You're going to see some recycled people. I think Mustafa Ali's going to get another shot. I could see
Mustafa never got a chance at the Cruiserweight Championship. He faced Neville, but he never had a chance to compete for the Cruiserweight Championship.
Okay, so I think we're going to see that match, and I think we're going to continue to see this cockier,
more arrogant
TJP, to the point where eventually we're going to see TJP turn on Neville, turning Neville back into a face of some sort. Not to the face that we saw coming out with the cape and everything, because I think that was stupid. But we're going to see him turn face to the extent of we're going to see him versus TJP, face versus heel P.
Having TJP as the prince usurp the king.
At least try to.
Yes, which will be a good match to see. And we've seen Neville versus TJP, but with this new attitude from TJP, it'll be a good matchup.
And so to finish out the show, you get Neville locking in the Rings of Saturn.
Well, before that, you have TJP that does the detonation kick. And then you have Neville come in and he does his Ring of Saturn. He holds onto it. The refs have to come in and
while TJP does a very, 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 very he does a dab, but there was a very cocky dab. It is cockier than anything Cam Newton ever did.
And so my synopsis of the show was that it was a decent show. Besides the Rich Swann segment and the Drew Gulak thing, and having the matches that you had with Akira Tozawa and the TJP A-Double match, I gave the show a B+.
I agree. If we hadn't have gotten the interference during the match of Gulak, I would have probably even given it an A-.
Yeah, I'll probably do that too.
Because we would have gotten the inverted 450. We would have had a cool moment maybe where Daivari because Daivari doesn't do all the flipping moves and everything. So I think you could have started putting this stable together that Gulak kind of manages. Mm-hmm. I think you missed a golden opportunity with that.
Well, who would you put in that stable? You have Gulak, but if Gulak is managing, who would you put? Nice, maybe?
Nice, Kendrick, and Daivari, because Daivari doesn't do a lot of. But that's 4. That's all you really need.
Yep.
4 horsemen. How many were there? 4 at one point. That's all there was. There were 4. Now you can get into other stuff with that later, but there were 4. You don't need a ton of people in the stable. You don't need NWO size stables. No. Everybody starts getting confused of who is and who isn't, and half the roster is.
You don't need like an NWO stable. You don't need a Bullet Club stable. You can just have the 4 people. Like Evolution wasn't that big.
Evolution was 3.
You had Flair, Batista, Orton, H.
Yep. So you had 4. 4's a good number for a stable, in my opinion.
And then you had DX, which DX was probably the biggest stable that WWE ever had.
If you don't count the Bobby Heenan stable.
Yeah. I see that.
And then there was that stable with Yokozuna's manager and Jim Cornette, too. That was pretty big.
Well, the Nation of Domination was pretty big, too.
I want to gouge my eyeballs out watching those guys.
And so,
anyways,
so
we'll get back to talking about current wrestling now.
After 205, we're going to start talking about NXT. Bobby Roode opens up the show, and he does a very glorious entrance.
The entrance was cool. I missed the promo, so you're going to have to take what the promo was said. I wasn't able to watch the promo.
So, I put a little note, a couple of things in there before I got to the promo. One was that I really, really, really like the new titles. They are so sexy. For the first time for me seeing the titles as on TV, because I didn't watch NXT last week, so I didn't get to see the titles. I didn't watch TakeOver, so I didn't get to see the titles. And so I watched it this week, and I saw the World Heavyweight title. I'm like, man, these titles are sexy.
Yeah, I love them. It goes back to Universe. We've killed the Universal title enough, I feel, for at least a minute.
I'll say that, because I have that bashing's coming. Don't worry, people. That bashing is coming. But it's not going to happen until we hit Raw. But another thing, even though they have the sexy titles, the thing I'm not a fan of, I'm not a huge fan of the new theme song. I like the old one, but I'm not a huge fan of the new one.
Are you talking about the NXT theme song?
Yeah.
Oh, the part that I fast forward through every week?
Yep. So,
I'm not going to lie there.
So, we get to the promo, and Bobby Roode is, he's basking in his own glory, saying that he's made NXT after he won the NXT title and after beating Nakamura at the last TakeOver. His completion for a glorious NXT is completed. So he's basking in his glory, and then he starts bashing Nakamura some more. And the crowd starts singing Nakamura's song because, it's Nakamura. Whenever someone mentions his name, you can't help but sing the song.
Or at least think about it.
Yep. And so as Bobby is bashing Nakamura, who would come out but Hideo Itami?
Hideo
Itami. Whatever. And he comes out, and I said it's nice to see him off of the injury. I mean, we've seen him a couple times.
That's when I keep talking about Yoshitatsu.
Yeah.
That's Yoshitatsu. Oh. Hideo Itami is Yoshitatsu. And like we mentioned, he's always injured. He is always injured. But I've heard that he's been wrestling like the last 6 months off TV, which I don't understand.
Oh, I like the house shows?
Yeah, I don't understand that. He has a really good talent.
Maybe getting the ring rust off. You never know. But he comes out, doesn't say anything, and he just slaps the taste out of Bobby Roode.
That just goes back to show you how much respect is there. Even though I know that was a promo, and I know it's wrestling, and he was just cutting a promo, there is respect between Hideo Itami and Shinsuke Nakamura. They're both from New Japan, so I love how we're having this kind of transitional time to eventually build up to Drew McIntyre versus Bobby Roode. Mm-hmm. But I like this little segue with Hideo Itami. He's always been in the title picture when he's there, and he's good in the ring.
Well, he was supposed to have that one title match before
somebody jumped
Kevin Owens, quote unquote. Kevin Owens jumped him.
When it was really he had to have shoulder surgery and they just took him off TV.
Yep.
Yeah, something like that.
And so, needless to say, Bobby Roode was not happy that he just got
the taste slapped out his mouth.
He got bee slapped.
I think his mama felt it.
And so he wasn't happy. So he's like, "You want to slap me? You want to slap me? I'm the champ." And so he's taking off his jacket and he starts rolling up his sleeves all this
Ric
time.
Flair style.
Yeah. And he takes off his jacket. He starts rolling up his sleeves, still talking smack. And then
the whole time, Hideo Itami is still in his suit and tie,
just standing there with his little penny loafers on. And Bobby Roode tries to attack. Hideo Itami then gets Bobby Roode on his shoulders, and a GTS happens. GTS is go to sleep. It's a CM Punk move. WWE CM Punk, hello. And
that one made me laugh though, because it was CM Punk. It was a nod to see like that move. Whenever I see it, I automatically think CM Punk. Yep. So you would think WWE would make him stop, but they didn't. Nope. So I'm happy.
And so he hits a GTS, and it pretty much knocks Roode out. You see this when you come back from a commercial break. Roode is still in the middle of the ring.
I was going to say sprawled out, spread eagle, just laying
out.
there.
And so, after Rude wakes up and everything, he gets his jacket, gets his title, he stumbles a little bit, but then, he regains his center of gravity and he leaves the ring. And so, we find out that next week on NXT that the UK Championship is going to be defended.
Which who did I call was going to be the first competitor last week?
You did say this, but I thought it was going to be when UK TV came on. But it's going to be Tyler Bates versus Jack Gallagher, and I'm actually quite excited for this match. I like this match. I like this matchup.
I could see Jack Gallagher winning too.
I wouldn't mind having Jack win, but that'll be good because you have Jack winning, and then you bring on UK TV, and you already have a rivalry happening for the UK title.
And you have a WWE, say, a person who's been competing in a WWE ring who is
he's established
WWE superstar in that role going forward. Tyler, is it Bates?
Yep.
Tyler Bates, we don't know a lot about him.
We've seen him compete in the ring. He's a good wrestler. I like how he wrestles. We saw him in the UK tournament also, but that's all we know. But we know that he's a good wrestler.
And you can go find clips of him on YouTube and watch him wrestle, but you don't know a lot of him in a WWE setting and ring. So it would be cool to kind of start out the UK TV with Jack Gallagher as your champ. And
yes.
That's my prediction. Jack Gallagher will walk out your champion next week.
That'd be awesome. I would not mind that at all, actually. And so we moved to a cutscene with Heavy Machinery. Heavy Machinery, they're doing their heavy machinery these things, and they're lifting weights. They're in the performance center, and they're lifting weights, and they have 400 pounds on this bench bar. And so they go, yeah, look at this, we're even going to impress the new guy. And they pan the cell phone camera over to Drew McIntyre, who is working out. Well, before they even do the rep that he was going to do, you have
Almas.
Cien Almas comes out and starts speaking some crazy Spanish that no one understands because there's no subtitles. And
go away, Almas. I don't like him.
And pretty much it just was announced that Almas has challenged McIntyre for next week on NXT. Yeah. So, there's that. And then we move into match number... Finally, after about 20 minutes, we move into match number 1, which is Cien Almas versus Danny Burch. I said there wasn't anything all that exciting about this match because I think they pretty much told Danny Burch just to stand in the middle of the ring and take a beating. And that's all he did.
That's the end of that match.
And that was it. He takes the beating.
Wins.
Almas wins.
I don't like Almas, and I wish he'd just go away, but WWE seems to want to push him because he is a Spanish-type star, and they need a new one since there's no more Eddie, no more Ray.
No more Alberto either.
Yeah, well, they messed it. They didn't even use him right.
No. And so then we cut to a video package of the NXT Women's Division. They're pretty much building Asuka as this, how they're building it to where Asuka is this mighty person, but even the mighty has to fall. That's how they're building this. But in reality, none of these women in this division can even hold a match to Asuka.
Yeah. Ember Moon's the closest one, and she's not even half as good as Asuka.
No, not even close. That's why I keep saying week after week after week after week after week, if they're going to bring up Asuka, have her come up with the NXT Women's title, and then have her relinquish it. Just have her relinquish it because the NXT Women's title has to be defended on NXT.
Well, here's where if you could figure out some way to do a triple threat match or a fatal 4-way, here's where you could have Asuka lose, but not be pinned and say, I've had enough of y'all. I've pretty much beaten all of y'all. You got a lucky win over somebody else. You didn't beat me.
Which then keeps her undefeated.
Even though she's not the champion. She was not pinned, and you bring her up to Raw undefeated. That's another way you could go.
That'll be a good way to go too. And then we move to match number 2, and Liv Morgan and Aaliyah versus Peyton Royce and Billie Kay.
Okay, we can just announce the winner here and move on because there's not much to say about this match. The after match, after Liv and whatever win, watching Peyton Royce and her partner,
Billie Kay,
getting mad in the ring was better than the entire match.
Yeah, and so I said it was. I'll just go through what I said about the match. I said that Liv Morgan does this dumb tilt the world spinning thing on the mat, and I don't see no point in that move. I said that Liv Morgan Aaliyah wins from Billie Kay trying to help Peyton Royce by holding on to her. Aaliyah comes and Liv Morgan comes, kicks Billie Kay off of Peyton Royce. Aaliyah rolls up. Peyton Royce 1, 2, 3. Aaliyah wins. But I said that the match moves so slow that when these 4 people are in a match, it's boring and there's nothing to watch. And that's all I'm gonna say. They'll get better. It's developmental. I understand that, and so they'll get better. They'll learn more how to flow better in the ring as they move on in their careers.
Yeah, but it was just sad to watch. It was so boring.
Now here we go with the main event. It's a cage match against Ty Dillinger. Ty Dillinger comes back to bring closure to this rivalry against Eric Young. And so,
it's a really good match.
It was a fantastic match. And I said that this is the last time that we will ever see Ty Dillinger on NXT TV. NXT TV, I say NXT TV because he's going down to Australia to do a tour with NXT. But this is NXT.
That won't be on TV.
No, this is NXT TV.
Yep.
So,
love Ty Dillinger.
After Dillinger comes down and everything, Sanity comes down. I said, interesting enough, EY decides to send the rest of his little posse to the back, which I give credit to EY for that, because he's like, Phillips and the other announcer, not McGinnis.
It's Desmond
not McGinnis, but the other guy.
Oh, the other guy who I don't care for.
Yeah. He says that EY is a proud man and he wants to fight this on his own, which is like, okay, I can give him that. And so, I lost my spot. Oh yeah. So, Dillinger himself, after EY comes to the match, Dillinger himself, closes the cage door after a little scuffle ensued. And so, Dillinger closes the door himself, and they start the match. Dillinger, after a few scuffles here and there, Dillinger is the first one to eat steel. So Dillinger's the first one who goes into the cage.
The cool part about that whole part was EY kept trying to throw him into it. Every time he did, Dillinger would try and climb the cage out, and EY'd have to stop him.
So, EY does a hanging dragon sleeper to Dillinger, which, no matter how you stage this, no matter what you do, this is a painful submission, no matter what. I mean, you can stage it and all that, but how it is, you still have all this pressure on your neck.
He's
neck
pulling
and
back, and you're dangling off the ground. I mean, you can't. It's got to be painful.
I mean, that's why EY
too.
EY doesn't hold it that long.
Yeah.
And EY gets busted open.
Okay, so fun story about that. I was sitting there watching it this morning, again during breaks and whatnot. I was sitting there watching it, and I'm going, they cut away from EY. While the 2 refs are standing there, I'm like, no, they got to be checking on him or something, and told Ty Dillinger go. Comes back and he's bleeding, and I'm like, this is a blade. This is a blade.
Yep. I said, EY gets busted open. Thank you, NXT, for letting there be color in a match that warrants there to be blood in the match.
Yes, it was. I'm impressed. You don't see blading anymore. Blading, the intentional cutting open with a razor blade. Except, here's the thing. EY bleeds really well.
He does. He's one of those bleeders that bleeds well. Another good bleeder is Randy.
Ric Flair was the
Flair
best.
is a good bleeder. Austin, during their Bret Hart match with the...
Yeah, that was completely on accident.
Yeah,
he cut a vein open.
But still, it looked good on TV.
Sure did, but Austin nearly died from blood loss that night, so...
So, Dillinger hits the tiebreaker, but Dillinger is too beat up, too worn out to take advantage to try to get the pinfall. And so he's trying to crawl out of the cage to win the match. But lo and behold, Sanity comes out and closes the door on Dillinger. And I'm thinking...
Not with him in it, just he went to climb, he crawls back in, and they said, no. And they shut the door, and didn't out come Roddy Strong.
Strong and Cassius Ohno come out, and Ruby Riott, and they come down and help. And Sanity's all over the place. They're trying to climb the cage. They're in the cage. Sanity gets in the cage. Dillinger does a crossbody off the top of the cage.
Looked like he did land wrong, though. A little bit. Hit his knee, maybe.
He probably did, but what do you expect when you're jumping 15 feet
in
the air?
But you knew it was coming, though. You knew it was coming because of how they have the cage.
Yeah.
So they had a little platform at the top.
Which is good because I forgot to mention that EY hit pretty much a picture-perfect elbow drop from the top of the cage onto Dillinger.
That's what he's known for. He did it in Impact a lot, too, when he was... they played up this whole thing where he had an alter ego and he was Super Eric, and Super Eric was brave and Eric Young was chicken, and he climbed the top of the cage and jumped off several times.
And so even with all the all the interference from Sanity, Ty Dillinger then, after he hits the crossbody, crawls on the cage, closes the cage door after he escapes, after he wins the match.
Because Sanity is in the cage. That's why he took advantage of crawling out.
He locks the villains into a cage.
Yeah, and was declared the winner, and Cassius Ohno and Roddy Strong are there to celebrate with him, and they lift him on their shoulders, and that's kind of the last scene we get is them.
I said it was a nice way to let Dillinger leave NXT with a win, with a closure to a rivalry.
And to continue to build him, because, Ty Dillinger needs to continue to be built. I think you could start transitioning him into a U.S. title match.
I can see that.
Into the U.S. title role. Maybe not Kevin Owens, because I'm hoping Kevin Owens loses to AJ Styles. But can you imagine the
AJ
perfect 10 versus
Dillinger?
Yeah.
That'd be nice. And I said that the last pillar of NXT has officially left NXT. The last stone from the original group that came into FCW that turned into NXT has now officially left NXT. Now NXT can now focus on building up new stars, new stories on what the foundation and what these superstars have left behind.
And what they've left behind is a great foundation. I mean, it is a very solid foundation as to where we're at.
And I said the next people who could wound up coming up would be Bobby Roode, Asuka, and DIY. That's my prediction of who might be coming up next. The final grade for this show, I gave it a B-, just because of the Payne and Royce match.
Yeah,
and Cena and Ono.
When you have 2 out of your 3 matches are just kind of, hey, look, they are, and then the main event's really good. You can't rely on just the main event to save you.
No.
So that one I actually gave a C+ to.
I almost thought about a C, but I was like, well, with Dillinger leaving, I didn't want Dillinger to leave with a C. So I gave him a B.
Well, the match was an A+, but the show overall couldn't save that match.
Alright, so this is going to end part 1 of this podcast. Part 2 is going to be posted on the same day, but we're splitting it up so that you're not listening to us for, 2 hours straight. If you want to do that, that's fine. You just have to go and click on the next podcast, which, like I said, is going to be posted the same day, so you'll be able to just click right to it. Again, remember, you can catch us on TuneIn, YouTube, Spreaker, iTunes, and after this episode, you can now catch us on iHeart Radio. So that's a big deal for us. We're super excited about that, and we can't wait to start working with iHeart Radio. But you can also catch us on Facebook at Not Quite Ringside Podcast. Once Twink gets the Twitter account up and running, you can then get us at Not Quite Ringside Podcast, and you can also email us for critiques, compliments, production notes, whatever. We'll take any type of email. You can email us at notquiteringsidepodcast@gmail.com. With that being said,
Twink had to step out in the car because he was getting hot. But I'm the captain, Corey Smelser, and I'll sing my farewells for Twink. And we'll catch you guys on episode 2 of this episode right here. See ya.